So if you could just talk for 27 minutes, that'd be great.
I can do that.
I mean, there's no pressure.
I was kicked out of Congress for my last filibuster.
Well, I would have voted against you. #me too. I'm tired of you already.
I talked Star Wars the whole time. That was the problem.
You mean the actual Star Wars, the real one, or the one that Ronald Reagan came up with, which was fake?
Hold on. Are you joining the Space Corps as well? Because I'm all in.
Here we go.
Just saying.
First of all, we at the company called Space Force, not Fitness Space Corps, whatever you're talking
Why
about.
mess that one up? I'm starting another one.
I'm starting you. All right, Doug, whenever. You're listening to Middles Open. Welcome back. And I can tell you right now, one of our guests is already here because his phone's going off. I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. Actually, you're not a guest. The Pastor Blaster, Dave Bever, is back.
He's back.
And here's the thing I'm really sad about. You weren't here, and we had an MMA fighter, a title holder. And that was set up for you and Doug. I literally wouldn't have had to be here.
I know, and I would even fought her in studio.
She was gonna roll with you.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I know her
challenged-
dad. She's not that tough. But
I know. I challenged her to a fight, and I said if she met me at 275, if she came up from 115, and we put the belt on. And you know what? Like a coward, she said no.
No.
I gave her a week to put on
Ah,
150 pounds.
Sheelies, I tell you.
Yeah, cowards. Don't tell her dad that.
Okay.
And then I've got my man, Doug Risher here, the right hook of radio. Doug, how are you?
I'm doing good. I will say, when you weren't looking though, she said that she could take you last week. So
Most liars do that. And then
Okay.
we do have a special guest in here.
Yeah.
Our boy, Joel Armbruster from Phoenix Bats. How are you?
Correct. How are you? I'm good.
I'm good. Now, you just did a show with Dave before this that we recorded where he literally said the phrase, all he needs is Prozac and Jesus.
That's right. You talk about a hot seat. I can't wait till I leave the studio and get to hear about that.
Yeah. So he's a little amped up today. So this is going to be good. But I want to say I am happy that Dave is here today because as a pastor, I'm going to need your help just for a brief moment of silence today, boys. Last night, something had happened. The game of the century took place, and I know all the people I've tagged on this Facebook Live are paying attention. The Legends of the Fall took their first loss in 5 years to the boys from Fall of the Legends. They said it couldn't happen, boys. They said it couldn't happen. And I just want to say, Tommy Williams, when you get in the box, it's a live ball. So don't be taking pitches and then complaining afterwards. That's all I got to say. Do you have any words we can give those boys before we move on with the show?
Let's take a brief moment of silence.
Yep.
Seems like the legends have actually fallen. God, will you please just bless those broken men today? I'm sure they're struggling to pick up the pieces, probably weeping in their lunch. Some of them have probably already checked in needing therapy from such an experience.
Now,
Are we talking softball? Softball?
Yeah. First of all, I don't know if you've seen the sweatshirt that, as Rachel said, I've been wearing all week long. Tuesday Night League champs, Morris Media. I mean, I see you're wearing an Indians shirt. Are you on the Indians?
I am, actually.
Yeah, well, you know, I want to say this. Morris Media has won more titles on Tuesday nights than the Indians have won since 1954.
You got me there, actually.
can't argue with that one.
Yeah, so boys, we've covered the important stuff. Let's get into a little, humorous stuff. Here's the question I have, and I'm glad we got a baseball guy on here, and we also have a bunch of guys who are blue-collar guys. The article I just saw the other day is Mike Trout is on pace to get a contract for $500 million at 27 years old. And I want to kick this to Doug, first of all, because Doug has a background where he's dealt with people that are not making a lot of money in their sport of choice, okay? $500 million for playing baseball, and we're baseball guys. But, Doug, I want to throw it to you. Is anybody worth that kind of money, in your opinion?
I mean, $500 million is a lot of money, and at 27, I can't imagine. I mean, he has no championships, correct?
No,
right?
No playoffs.
No, and his. I mean, the guy on paper is phenomenal. Obviously, he's got 38 home runs this year, but $500 million. They're putting a lot of cash in banking on this guy. But I mean, at that point, he still has a huge career left ahead of him. But $500 million. I mean, who else is making that kind of money?
Well, I mean, nobody in Washington,
Nobody.
D.C., I'll tell you that, and they're not worth it there either.
No, that's for
Are
sure.
you kidding me?
You're talking-
You're telling me people in Washington, D.C. are not worth that kind of money?
Uh,
I know for a fact some of them are good middle infielders there.
Oh, that's true.
That's all I'm
They
gonna
have
say.
good softball
If you're
as well.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to run for office just to play in Congress.
There
That's
you
all I
go.
want.
You're talking $500 million. Who are you going to blame for getting $500 million? I mean, if I was Mike Trout, take it. take it and run. If I was the executive of a team, absolutely.
But I'm not blaming him. What I am saying is, out of all the sports, and the reason that when Doug and I talk about UFC, we are talking about the actual fight, the actual training camps and all that. But when you think of the money that goes into it just for your training camp, right? You're paying out probably 30-40% just to get prepped for that fight. Okay? So if you're winning, Doug, isn't a good purse typically if you win like the mid card? Isn't it about $7,500 or so?
Are you talking pro or
Pro.
On a local level? I don't know. What do you think, Dave? I mean,
Well, on a local level, honest to God, there's
Probably
some
not even
people
that.
fighting for 3-3, 3,000 to fight, maybe 3,000 to win. And honest to God, I've seen pro fighters fight for 1,500 bucks. That's you're guaranteed you get another 15 wins. So when you think about it, the amount of time they put into their diet, their training, their camps, their coaching. Honestly, some of these fighters are out here fighting for almost free, right? They're paying money to be able to fight because they're hoping.
they
to
might be
get
losing
some-
money.
Yeah,
to be honest.
losing
Some of these,
money.
even these
Absolutely.
local amateur fighters are, they might be walking away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not making anything. But some of the pro fighters, a couple $100 sometimes. I mean, they just
Yeah.
want to get their experience
That's exactly
and
right.
get some wins on their under their belt, so they can move up into a bigger division.
Well, part of this is when I'm looking at the Major League Baseball numbers, because as Dave so thrillingly wanted to point out that the Orioles have only lost 110 games this year.
Yeah.
Thank God there's only 3 games left. But
Trade your best player away.
but why they trade him away? So the issue
Good
is
idea.
Chris Davis,
Yeah.
who is my favorite player, is hitting 168, and I did not want them to lose him. Right, played first base,
Right.
hits bombs. They're paying him $21 million a year, and he's got 5 more years of this.
Yeah.
They have to trade Manny Machado because they give the money to him.
Right.
So now Machado, his asking price is going to be $400 million. Bryce Harper, the same. They're the same age. They're putting up similar stats. And a team is going to invest $800 million in that. So then what I wanted to do was let's do a comparison of where these guys are. So I just pulled the top 10. And I'm going to go backwards, and I want to get your reaction on, is this guy worth this money or not? Felix Hernandez is making $26 million with the Mariners. $26 million a year.
Not worth it.
Not
No,
worth it.
they moved him to the bullpen earlier this year.
Right. So Albert Pujols, who allegedly is 40 years old, I'm pretty much sure he's 65 years old, and there's no documentation when he was born. But he's making $27 million.
No.
Hasn't played a full season in the last 3 or 4 years. Justin Verlander, $28 million.
Close.
I just can't wait to get the next 2. All right, let's
Close
give it
by
that.
the market. I
Doug,
mean,
he has a World Series ring.
I mean, 28's a huge difference for 500 million, though. So I mean, 28 speaks a lot.
That is true.
I think for him.
But here are the 2 names I want to know. And when you fall out of your chair and hear these numbers, Jason Hayward, $28 million,
no. No.
and Yoenis Cespedes, $29 million. That is highway robbery. You should be in prison if you're playing 50-some games for $29 million.
I think $29 million in New York though is different than 29.
Yeah, I mean, it really breaks down to $7 an hour.
Right.
Oh, he can
So-
afford a half a bedroom apartment in New York.
But when I'm looking at those numbers, that's what you're signing up for. You're signing up for
Crazy.
you're not signing up for potential. You're signing up for what somebody has done in the past, right?
Well, that's exactly what you just pointed out is potential. All these contracts are signed on potential.
Right.
Pujols are not potential. I'm sorry, based on what they did in the past. Excuse me, because Pujols for $27 million, he made all that money because of what he did in
Right.
St. Louis. That wasn't going to be potential. He was going to be in his 40s allegedly. You know, when he finished this contract.
He was going to be in his 40s when he's already in his 50s.
Right.
But-
So they're paying for past performance. You have another team paying for what he accomplished in St. Louis. That's ridiculous.
But let's apply this to the same thing. And Doug, I want your take on this because you and Dave, I really want you to go back and forth because I think you might have the same opinion, but maybe not. The top 3 people in UFC is Conor McGregor, Alistair Overeem, and Ronda Rousey. Now here's the disparity. Conor, $37 million. Overeem, $4 million. Ronda Rousey, $3 million.
Those are 2018 numbers, correct?
Yeah, just 2018.
Just
That is
2018.
not, so, Connor, that is a mix of the money he got through boxing as well. The bulk of that is boxing. But you guys are MMA guys. where do you see, like, you would say you'd have to go get your money, right? I mean, get your money while you can, because it doesn't last. You're not 40 years old doing this anymore.
No, I mean, it's not a sport that you last very long, and those kind of numbers aren't thrown around in MMA ever. Like, obviously, Conor got that fight in Mayweather.
Yeah.
Ronda, she's in WWE now, so she's not even fighting in MMA.
Yeah.
And Alistair, I mean,
That's sponsorship money.
Yes, this is all coming, like you said, they have to go get it. They're not getting it from the fight cards themselves.
Yeah.
They're not getting it from pay-per-view buys. They're getting it from their sponsors. Yeah, but $37 million, my God, that's huge money in MMA terms.
But look at the gap. Look at the gap between him and number 2.
33 million.
But he had to leave his sport to get it.
And the two of them, number 2 and number 3, one, they're pretty much done fighting, or they're really good at when they get in a fight, getting knocked out. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, Overeem, he's a knockout artist, meaning he gets knocked out now. Ronda Rousey, knockout artist, meaning perfected getting knocked out. Conor McGregor, like, here's the thing I love about Conor McGregor. He's getting this money, but I think he's a phenomenal fighter.
Yeah.
His movement, his skill, his discipline, his art. Great. We understand he's not the greatest jiu-jitsu, but when you're knocking people out at will, you don't need to have your jiu-jitsu. But here's the thing. I say good for him getting his money. I love the story because he's come from nothing. And if he has to go to boxing or talk his way in or start new businesses, it's incredible to see a guy in that. Because, like, a lot of times in the MMA world, you have a bunch of hardworking, blue-collar, or even just kind of coming from the bottom, rough, tough, rugged dudes that, turn to fighting to get out of maybe a situation they were in, There's not too many Ivy League schoolgoers that I'm like, I'm going to be the MMA champion of the world, right? So I think it's, money that he's earned. He's went out and got it. But never for signing a contract and fighting with a human being did he get that kind of money.
What's an Ivory League?
Oh, that's those things that the hunters try to make and get their tusk.
Man, I learn something new every day. That's awesome.
Dave's on fire. He's so excitable you don't want to question. You're like, did he say ivory?
Yes, ivory. Make things up here.
Yeah. So again, I just want to show the disparity between, and I'm not picking on baseball, but we got people in this room that are obvious. Like, you guys kind of like baseball, like on the minor league level, because you like the Indians, and then other people, other people like baseball. But when I'm looking at, that's the amount of money that's going in a sport where they're saying the audience is dying off because younger kids aren't playing as much, they're not watching as much. So an older guy like myself, I love it. And I'm not going to turn away from it. But it is frustrating because there is no loyalty. And I get it, why there's no loyalty, because someone will cut you at the drop of a hat. But when you're looking at this, can you pick an athlete in any sport that would be worth, I can't even, in a 10-year period, figure out somebody that would be worth, say, $70 million. I don't own the team or any team, but when I'm looking at it, is it really worth that kind of investment?
Well, let me ask you guys this. So $500 million to me is such a huge number compared to these guys getting mid-20s, 30s. I know they're looking for a long-term, with Mike Trout, but baseball's not my sport, per se. What would a team justify paying someone $500 million? What is he bringing to the table that's so amazing that all these other guys are getting 30, 20? They can get all these top 10 for $500 million. You're getting Mike Trout for $500 million?
Jersey sales.
Right. Well, there's that. I mean, there's a lot that goes more into baseball than you're talking MMA, because I don't think we're comparing apples to apples, unfortunately.
No.
These guys are playing 180-plus games a year, not including spring training. So when you see $35 million for Kershaw, $34 million this year for Trout, you've got stadiums that are, even if they're half filled, every night that's income coming in for that team. So just proportionally, it's going to be dished out more. UFC fighters fight, maybe up to 3 times a year if they can.
Cowboy Cerrone every weekend.
Yeah, that's true. But for $500 million, what a team would be getting Mike Trout, you get a good character guy. You get a 5-tool player. You also get somebody who's never made the playoffs, has not won a championship, and I mean, he's young, but and I think he's physically built to last for 10 years. If you sign him to a 10-year contract, I don't think he's going to be the Albert Pujols where 2 years into it, you're wondering, what am I going to do for the next 8 years?
So this is why I wanted to know, because I was like, what would the reasoning behind to justify that giant contract?
And I think some of the justification too, just in my head, is I'd always say if my son was going to be a pro athlete and say, hey, what should I play? Could play anything you want. I'd say play baseball. Because baseball, you're going to make a maximum amount of money, guaranteed contracts, and you have the least likelihood of getting hurt. It doesn't mean that these guys don't get hurt, but I think that goes into the factor. Football player goes out, they don't get guaranteed $500 million contracts, $50 million, $60 million, because they're a snap away from a career-ending, injury. Yeah. I think in baseball, the likelihood of injury or severe injury, life-threatening injury, is far less. Yeah. Unless you play on Tuesday night softball league with Michael, and then it's detrimental.
Well, then you can be legendary.
You can be
That's ego killing.
Right here, the franchise. Just call me that. You
the
don't
franchise.
Softball. I mean, stop saying softball like you don't appreciate the sport. It's a man's sport. Go ahead, Dave. I cut you off.
I just think that's. So I think there's some of that play. Like, can you really kind of double down on a guy for a decade, 10 years in a game of baseball, looking at the risk to reward? More than likely, the risk isn't that high.
Right.
The money, personally, different take on it. I love sports. At 40 years old and now understanding more things about the real world, I get kind of batty over the amount of money that we pay athletes to entertain us, right? There's so many global and world problems. I don't want to be that guy like, shut up, Dave, don't talk about,
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to say, shut up, Dave, don't
shut up, Dave, don't talk about that. But, like, when I think of, like, $500 million for a guy to play bat and ball, good for him, but does it not? For me, it speaks to a larger scale about the kind of care, the morals, the ethics of our culture as a whole. Like, there's a lot of things we can do with five. Could that guy not live on $100 million? Could he live on $200 million? Better. His kids, his grandkids, his great grandkids.
He lives in Anaheim. It's a very expensive city.
It is. He has an apartment for he and his wee dog. I don't know.
Well, what if you take all that out of the equation? I mean, let's not look at the moral part of it. Yeah. Who, as just a current athlete,
just told the
right
pastor
now,
not to look at
stop
the moral
looking at morals,
part.
Pastor Dave.
Take it easy, Abraham.
Who do you think today, just as an athlete, in any of the sports, would be worth $500 million? I already know my answer.
$500 million.
$500 million.
Chris Davis.
LeBron James.
LeBron James.
LeBron, the GOAT.
I would say he's the only person that would be worthy of a $500 million.
He'll bring that
contract.
back to your city.
Rename him the Cleveland James.
You know what? When I looked at these statistics, it wasn't like most of these statistics were. Can you believe what these guys are getting paid? There wasn't one that had him listed as like he is not deserving of it. I didn't even think of it that way. But it is my idea since it is our show. I want to hold that thought because you brought up something really important, but we got to take a break real quick. You're listening to Middles Open. We'll be right back. That's a really good point. I'm glad that I was here today to point that out.
Force Media presents Long Shots.
Yes, Tuesday night champions. All right, so let's go back into that because I think that was really strong. Because I want to talk about. All right, I don't want to do too much talking, so you guys kind of take it from me. But I want to talk about entertainment, like you said. Like Beyonce, we don't care what she makes. So she's touring 32 cities, and we don't care about that. But we also don't care about the morals of it, right? Mm-hmm. So who's somebody that's like a scumbag that tours all over the place? I don't mean that John Mayer.
Kanye.
Okay, let's use that.
Kanye. Kanye West.
Like he does all kinds of terrible things.
Also.
Yeah, but people buy his stuff. Like he's not an athlete, but we don't really care what he does, but we would care if LeBron James did that same stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're paying for the moral part of it as well.
Sure.
Who's an athlete who's like really just a dumbass? Like Lamar Odom style. Like somebody that's always in trouble.
John Jones. Back to UFC.
No.
That's great.
Okay, let's do that. I want to hit that first. Right. Because we'll get back into the LeBron James thing.
Yeah, you're going to get him rolling now.
That's what we need.
That's his boy.
That's
I'm going to poke the bear then.
Welcome back to Middles Open. Still sitting here with Doug Risher, the Pastor Blaster, Dave Bever, and Joel Armbruster. You brought up something, Joel, before the break that was really smart about LeBron James, about the amount of money that guy gets. There's not enough out there for who he is as a person and what he brings to your city and the economy. But I want to get our two rough and tumble guys here into this because there's an athlete we were talking about during the break that should be on that UFC list. He should be one of the all-time greats, not just in the cage, but in terms of money he made. John Jones.
Yeah.
We will watch that guy fight But the skepticism of him being in the ring, like, there's so many problems that come with that guy. Morally, we don't care for him, but we will watch a fight because he's a great fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a justification in how much he makes, or do you kind of hate on him because he makes such terrible decisions, but we're still going to pay to watch that?
Well, here's the deal. John Jones has been my favorite fighter for a long time, from the jump. And I've stuck with John Jones holistically. I've chalked it up. Hey, young guy, goes from sleeping on a couch, to being arguably the best mixed martial artist in the UFC. And his greatest side kind of distraction has been himself.
Yeah.
It's no other fighter. It's no other competition. So here's the deal. This last go-around, when John screwed it up, this last go-around when he got popped again, I was, like, legitimately disappointed. Like, I'm finally done with the John Jones. But then I really kind of stepped back and thought to myself, all right, here's the deal. Can I separate John as a person versus John as a fighter? I can. As a person, he's made horrible decisions. Morally, ethically, financially, terrible decisions. Kind of would put him up in, maybe a lot of people call him a scumbag or dirt, whatever. When I put him in the cage, look, man, you can't deny the guy's skill. What breaks my heart is he should be at the top of that list. He should still, over all this time, still be the guy that the UFC is putting out there for the biggest fights and super fights and getting all of this credit as being one of the greatest martial artists to ever do this thing. But his personal life has hijacked him and it's ruined him. And so now there's a bunch of people that want nothing to do with him, even as a fighter. Now, listen, John Jones has been cleared. He's coming back. Daniel Cormier is somewhere crying right now because he can't beat him. He can't beat him. A clean John Jones, a druggy John Jones. DC's not beating John Jones. He is that much more of a superior fighter. I think he's like fine wine. He ages with time. Maybe we shouldn't use drug and alcohol references with John Jones. But, yeah, man, I think he's the fighter that he could have been. I think he's the fighter he is. I think the person he could have been is where he has gone astray.
So like you said, he's a guy that started sleeping on the couch, had nothing, becomes a great mixed martial artist, gets some money, can't get out of his own way. Probably one of my favorite fighters to ever watch. I seen him standing up choke out Lyoto Machida.
Right.
I was like, I could not believe that happened. When I saw that, it kind of just made it seal the deal that, my God, this guy is probably the best mixed martial artist I've ever seen. Then John starts getting into all this different kind of trouble. Can't get out of his own way, gets cleared, then gets in trouble again right before another fight. And then it starts it right back over. He could be literally the GOAT,
Agreed.
But he is coming back. I think Dana said not till next year. He's a little heavy right now, so he has to get back into training. But that guy is one of the guys that I would, like you said, love to see him making the money that he should be making. But he's got to get his life together.
Get his life together.
Now, when you guys say he's cleared, I know there was recent news on him. He's served his time. He was not cleared of any wrongdoing.
Yeah.
So he still has made the mistake twice.
But he's paid his dues, I guess.
Yeah,
to say.
paid his dues. Yeah. He could get his fighting license and he could fight in the UFC again. And now what they're trying to do is tote out the John Jones, Brock Lesnar fight and all that. Because at the end of the day, they're going to try to get that money. I know Suplex City, but John Jones will front kick him in the neck. Gone.
I don't think you understand this. When Brock brings a chair down there, it's going to change things around. Here's my question to you, though. Brock has not really ever gotten himself into trouble, right? Yeah. John Jones has.
Yeah.
You're going to pay to watch that. I don't care if it lasts 13 seconds. You're going to pay to watch that event. But John Jones does not deserve the money that he's going to get for it. He's not a solid individual outside. He can't even take care of his own business with his own life, right?
Valid point.
But you're going to pay to watch that.
Valid point. That's a valid point. That's a valid point that he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve maybe the opportunity because there's so many other people who have done it the right way. But let's face it, at the end of the day, the UFC, Dana White, all they hear is pennies in the pot, man. And so...
But isn't that what matters?
Well,
in this scenario, what we're talking about, when we're talking about giving people this kind of money, it is what do you produce for an ownership group, for a team, whatever money we can make, right?
Dana's in a win-win situation here because there's two things we as a society love. We love a great comeback story. If he's finally gets his life right, comes in and becomes the GOAT in MMA.
Sure.
And we also love train wrecks because you can't kick your eyes off.
I totally agree, but that's why this amount of money. We didn't watch Mike Tyson just because we wanted to see him knock people out.
Yeah.
But when he got out of prison, we wanted to watch that circus and we wanted to watch the tent fall over the animals.
Yes, we
that's
did.
What we went to. But we would have paid 50. Remember when pay-per-views used to be like $29, and then all of a sudden it went to 54 when Tyson could fight. It wasn't even in HD.
Right.
But you didn't know what you were going to see. He's biting someone's ear off, and you go, just ignore it. We're going to charge $65 for the rematch, though, and you go, oh, that makes me feel better about this.
I dig it. Yeah, the entertainment value over there is a big part of our culture. We want to see the big fights. We want to see the Conor McGregors fight the Mayweathers. We want to see the Conor McGregors fight the Khabibs. We want to see the John Jones fight, the Brock Lesnars. Because at the end of the day, here's the thing I think about sports. Football, baseball, basketball, they all have lost their purity to some purists. We're purists. I love the sport. I love all sports. But once you get beyond kind of that high school level or you get into that kind of upper tier college level, I do think that the sport loses its purity, and now it becomes more about productivity and producing money, right? I mean, think about college athletes, NFL, all of them. At the end of the day, man, business is business. And that's how I think they treat it.
Yeah, and a lot of those college kids aren't getting paid what they should unless they
That's
go to
exactly
Baylor,
right.
Miami, schools like that, right? That's what
Maybe
you're
even
saying.
Michigan and even getting paid as still so.
We all know that stuff doesn't happen at the U here.
Not at
It is
all.
above board Christian. It's Christian men going to
Yes.
school just playing football.
That's
And
100%.
everyone's cheating, and you know that, Dave.
That's the truth.
All right,
Just
wanted
less
to
of it
say-
at the Ohio State.
I just knew you wouldn't lie to me.
I don't
Your
know.
moral center and all that.
Absolutely. Middle's open.
Yeah, that's right. So, in closing, I want everyone's last summation on this. Is anybody worth $500 million? Dave, go first.
I'm going to say yes. I'll give $500 million any day to LeBron James to come to my city because he impacts the city holistically. And I think it can have a economical, moral, family dynamic. I'll pay that athlete to come to my city. Oh, wait. He was already here. He left. Never mind.
Twice.
LA bound.
Twice.
What about you, Joel?
Yes, I'm worth $500 million. I will take it. Whoever's out there that's got it, I will make it happen. But I agree. I'm the one who brought it up first. LeBron James. He's the only one in my mind worth $500 million. What even a city like LA right now, what he's going to bring to that city, I mean, it's just going to trump just the entire economics of it. As you look back as an executive or as an owner, you know how much more is going into it other than what's on the court. He's the only one that I would
Did
pay.
you say LeBron James and Trump in the same sentence? I'm just curious.
No, did I use the word Trump? I'm sorry, Mom.
I am going to agree. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard case to not to agree with. LeBron, look at the character of the guy, all the stuff he does for the college kids in the area. He gives so much back. So giving him that kind of money for a contract, you're getting it back in full as well for the community. So I got to agree. LeBron, just good character all around, and no matter where he is, he's going to impact the city. So.
Well, in closing, you're all wrong. There is only one man worth $500 million, and that's the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. You are listening to Middle's Open, and we will see you next week.
That was awesome. That was really good.
I'll probably add like a Ric Flair. You
should.
there.
You guys, I knew you guys would get along.
Yes.